Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today, mainly stories really. Yesterday's Orchid Society meeting was uneventful. Didn't have as many turn up as we often do, and a couple of the new members that we got from the show didn't turn up. We also had some people missing due to health issues. Nonetheless, still a reasonable turnout, still more than we used to get before we had that purge at the show. We got the, not purge, the opposite, influx. But yeah, it's basically a last minute sort of change of speaker as well. We were lucky that Peter, one of our members, actually joint chairman, actually had something prepared, because our speaker, external speaker that was supposed to come at the last minute dropped out, unwell, you know, so it's I don't get to hear these things because I don't go out much basically, but we had a quick chat about our summer garden party, which is in August, where we all gather at somebody's house out in the garden, and we all bring our own food, you know, like a sort of salad lunch or picnic lunch, something like that, and just have a general get together, social. And in the past, people have brought an amount of food that goes on a spread to share, but with the advent of COVID, the first time we were able to hold it again, you know, when you could meet outside, we decided it might be better for safety reasons to bring our own food and eat it and not share. And it was decided that we're going to do the same again this year on the grounds that there's quite a bit of COVID around again. Quite a few people are getting it despite having vaccinations, but only mild, you know, it's not like everybody's getting sent to hospital, but nonetheless it's around again, so we've decided to not share our food around this time and just stick to our own. At least you get what you want, I suppose you could look at it that way. Anyway, so that was that. There weren't too many plants brought in, and somebody left their camera on the end of the table, that place where I put things so that I don't forget them. Well, I forgot my camera, so I didn't film anything. I got given some Keikis by Lynn, a couple of dendrobium Keikis, we'll have a look at them a bit later. And yeah, so that was that. Uneventful until I got home. And I got the stuff out of the car and carried the stuff into the lounge, and I thought, why can't I see out? Why is it dull in here? Bearing in mind I'd just walked in from the sun shining, and somebody had left the humidifier on all the time I'd been away. And this place was not only 100%, everything was streaming. The floor was soaking wet. I left footprints as I walked through to open this door, get some air through. The heater was covered in water, and the fan had been drawing some of the humidity in as it rotated, and eventually it got wet enough that it actually dripped all over the heater. Lucky it didn't go off pop, but anyway, it's all dried out now. But yeah, it was literally 100% and thick fog. When I opened the door, you know, I literally had to go through fog to get to this door to open it. And I left both doors open for a while to get some of the moisture out. But I mean, it's sorted itself out now. And it's not cold weather, so it's not going to do the plants any harm. Might have even done them some good, who knows. But used up a lot of my RO water. I'll have to fill it up again now. Yeah, so that was that. that's the trouble when you got things on manual. Occasionally things get forgotten. I was half expecting that to happen at some point or another. So that wouldn't matter normally. I'm here, so you know I'd have seen things starting to mist up. Thought, oh, I've left that humidifier on, but not when you're out for quite a long time as well. When I left here 11:15 and got home about 5:30. It was on quite a long time. It's lucky it wasn't the big, you know, Hurricane Hector. I hate, well, you can only get up to 100%, can't you? But the roof's still wet. I can still see moisture on the roof. That hasn't dried out yet. So all these drips that look like it's been raining, they're actually on the inside, not on the outside. Still, it's done now. What else? The saga of the tyres. Well, you know, yesterday was the first time trying out my nice set of new tyres on the motorway, and the car drives nicer. It just seems a little bit crisper with the steering now, because obviously there's more grip now rather than having sort of old, quite worn tyres, so that was good. But yes, I'd had the phone call, so I set off. I'm only 15 minutes away, not too much traffic around despite the time of day, and pulled in, and the guy said, probably better if you go for a walk, because it's probably going to be an hour or so, and you know, give it an hour or hour and a quarter, something like that, and then come on back. So I thought, well, left the keys in the car, sort of thing. He said, we're going to put it on the ramp and put it up so that we do all four wheels together, sort of thing, rather than just jack one up and then the other. So that didn't really interest me, how they're going to do it, just get on and do it, basically. I had a look at the labels on the tyres, because they were stacked up in the corner ready to go, and although they weren't the ones I ordered, which is why we had the problem in the first place, they were a good replacement on the grounds that you get 3 ratings, A to E, on handling in the wet, fuel efficiency, so how much they drag basically, and also noise, road noise, and they were 2 dB higher on the road noise setting. The ones I'd actually chosen were the lowest value I could get in the budget tyres range. I don't do enough driving and I don't tear around or anything. I don't need high performance tyres. So yeah, so anyway, I thought, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go down to the retail park, it's only about half a mile away, have a stroll down there, and have a look round the garden centre bit. Well, I did that, and the fact that I'd only been there a few days before and got a couple of new plants for the garden, there wasn't really anything new to see, so I didn't stay there long, and I came out and I thought, there's a Costa coffee place. I thought, I'll go and get a coffee and sit outside, you know, sort of sunshine and cloud, you know, intermittent sunshine. I'll get a coffee and sit outside and just waste some time, basically. So I went in, and because it hadn't long been school chuck out time, and there were what I call 2 modern children. This is youngsters, you know, so junior school age, I suppose, 9, 10, something like that, charging round, screaming and shouting, while their parents are sat up in the corner having a chat. So everybody else had to put up with that. There were lots of children in there, just these 2. They're what I call modern children. Oh, they're just expressing themselves. No, they're not. They're ruining the enjoyment of other people in a confined space. And for me, it's not on. I call it misbehaving, you know. I mean, in my day, you'd have got told to sit down and be quiet and get on with your drink or whatever, you know, not charge around all over the place, you know, rolling on the floor, fighting and knocking things around, bumping into people. It's not on. Anyway, I patiently waited in the queue. The lady in front of me seemed to be ordering coffees and cakes and things for about 50 people, the amount of time she took. And places like coffee, I don't know why it takes so long to make a coffee, but anyway, I finally got there and I thought, I'm going to have something to eat, what shall I have? Treat myself as I'm being inconvenienced. And I had a look down the cakes and there were some nice cakes there. There was a cinnamon bun. I thought, God, I haven't had one of them for ages. I'll have a cinnamon bun with my coffee. And I had it to go so that I could go and sit outside where I'd rather sit and watch the cars trying to park than sit there with those flipping kids charging around. So, and the cinnamon bun was strange because it looked more like a pork pie. Cinnamon buns are normally sort of like slightly dome shaped because they're made of a coil of whatever the material is, you know, with the cinnamon flavour wrapped inside it, you know, normally with some sort of icing type thing on the top. And this one had like vertical sides that were solid and a flat top. And anyway, I got outside and I must admit, apart from one occasion which was special, that was the best cinnamon bun I think I've ever had. And, well, let's put it this way, the best cinnamon bun I've ever had that was made in this country. There was a YouTuber, this is going back a long time ago, that lived out in Barcelona. And he came over to England for the International Orchid Show at Malvern. I think he might have come over for other things, but he was there for that. And we had a chat, and my daughter, Hannah, was with me, and there was a YouTube viewer that just happened to be around at the time, decided to get in on the photo, so we had like a photo taken, and he said, I've got to go back to the car, I'll catch you in a minute. And he disappeared and he came back. He was the patisserie chef in a big hotel in Barcelona, and he'd made cinnamon buns for us, and he'd gone back to the car to get them, so he came back with a cinnamon bun for me and Hannah, and that's the best cinnamon bun I've ever had in my life. It will never be beaten, no matter what. But yeah, that one at Costa was a good second, good second place. Anyway, I wasted my time and faffed around, and got back to where the tyres were allegedly being done, and therein lies the rest of the story. And the guy said, I think you might have to go for another walk. We've been absolutely swamped this morning, so much so that my guys missed their lunch. So he said, everybody's gone for lunch basically, so it's going to be another hour before they start your car, and then it's going to be nearly an hour to do your car. So I was there 3 hours. I did go for another walk, and in the end I got fed up with walking around, so I just sat down and watched the guy doing the tyres eventually. But yeah, so I got home later than I would normally have hoped for. My tea was late, you know, but we got the new tyres, so we eventually got there. But I chatted to the guy quite a lot, the manager there. He's very interested in cars, and I'm not, but I used to work for a car rental company, so I've driven an awful lot of different types of cars. We were chatting about cars and talking about driving in the snow and how hopeless our country is. And he said, yeah, he remembers snow. And he said, got up the next day after the snow, and he said it was like an apocalypse had happened. There was nothing on the roads, and the only people driving on the roads were the Eastern European blokes. Because they drive in the snow, you know, they practiced. So yeah, I remembered that from those days. Anyway, so that got the car done. I do need to still get the brakes and the discs done and get the car serviced. It hasn't had a service since I got it. So even though I don't do high miles, things like oil, it still gets tired. It still doesn't work as well as it should after time, you know, even if the car's not being used a huge amount, sort of thing. So yeah, I need to get that done soon. So still got more expense on the car to do. So that was that. I had a look at the daylight site that I have a look at, which shows, you know, sunrise, sunset, day length and all that sort of stuff. You'd be surprised the amount of daylight that is already being lost, and yet it only seems the other day it was the midsummer solstice, and yet the daylight hours are starting to drop already. So and the rate of change will increase dramatically once we get towards the end of August, you know, sort of 6 weeks time, something like that, and then it will just, the days will drop right off. So that's that. What else? Health stuff. Well, the only thing to report really is the weight, really, because everything else is. This will please some people, and having done a bit of work, I can sort of see why. I've stopped taking the tablets I was given for. Well, I was given them specifically for cholesterol, and I spent ages getting in to my medical records. You can actually get yourself an NHS login which allows you access to your records, basically. It's a bit of a faff because you have to really verify who you are. I had to send a picture of my passport in, and then I had to do a scan of my face using the laptop camera, and then that got sent away and they matched them, and to check that it really was me trying to get in to see my records. So I eventually got in, and I had a look at the report from my blood tests, and there's nothing wrong with my cholesterol. In fact, when you have a blood test, you don't just get a figure, you get the breakdown. So you get the HDL, the LDL, other bits and pieces. You get the whole set of figures. And for each one of those figures, I found a couple of other sites to say what are good values for these individual settings. Mine are all fine. Nothing wrong with anything. So I've stopped taking those statins, tablets, and I booked an appointment to discuss that with a doctor. Of course, I'm not in the rapid access case anymore. Once I'd had my echo, and I've got a nice letter about that event and all the discussions we've had, that letter's arrived, and I've been handed back to a normal GP now, so nothing happens quickly, not with our NHS. You could die waiting for an appointment, it's that bad. So anyway, my appointment is the 12th of August for a phone call. That's the earliest I could have a phone call from a doctor. And that's just basically, I said it's specifically, I need somebody who knows what they're doing to look at my medical records, specifically to look at the results of my blood tests and tell me whether I need to take these tablets or not. Well, when I do eventually speak to them, once they've said it looks like you don't need to take them, that will justify the fact that I'm not taking them anyway. I've made my own decision, but it's not just it is based on quite a lot of work, and you know, looking at various reports, and so I'm not taking them anymore. So we're down to two types of tablets: the blood thinners, which is twice a day, and the one that helps regulate heartbeat and everything like that. That's once a day. So it's not so bad. I still prefer none, but you know. So that's that. The weight, the rate of weight loss has slowed a bit, but the thing that shows more than anything is to be comfortable with my belt holding my trousers up. I was on the last hole, yeah? If I was doing walking around and stuff like that, the trousers were too loose and they start to slip a bit, so I had to come in, you know, one hole from there. So that was my, you know, walking about one. Well, I'm in another hole now to hold them up. So yeah, it's working. Slowly but surely, but it's working. I think I've lost £10 now, 10 or 11, something like that. So it's slow progress, but apparently that's better than fast progress because it'll just come back on. And I'm enjoying the food that I eat, if you know what I mean, the change in the diet. I'm enjoying it, so I can keep it up, you know, it's good stuff. It's a little more expensive because fish isn't cheap in this country, and there's a lot of fish in the diet, different types, not all the same thing, and yeah, but nonetheless there is there's more expense on that front, but there's savings because there's other things I'm not buying anymore, you know, bread and potatoes. I'm not eating rice and pasta, but then they're stockpiled in the cupboard. I wouldn't have bought them for ages anyway. But yeah, I mean, I was buying potatoes and bread on a regular basis. I'm not buying those anymore. And the types of vegetables I'm eating, the green veg, they've just replaced other sorts. So, you know, that's working okay. So that's good. This weekend coming, I'm off to Burnham's for their Orchid Festival on the Saturday with Lynn. Hannah may or may not be coming. She hasn't finally made her mind up yet, but if she does, then I'll be picking her up on Friday. There won't be, obviously I'll be filming at Burnham's, so I'll have videos to show from the Burnham's Festival. There's 4 orchid societies, so that'll be 4 displays to actually sort of get some film of, plus Burnham's itself. You can have a look around there as well. So there'll be a fair bit of video footage from Saturday, which probably I'll start putting those clips together on Monday probably. I'll use the Sunday chat to have a chat about the day out, if you see what I mean. But I won't be posting anything on Saturday, that's for sure. And Sunday will be a normal Sunday chat. So that's coming up soon. I'm quite looking forward to that, you know. So I haven't been to Burnham's for a while now. I'm just trying to think, have I actually been this year? Not sure. Been for a while. Anyway, so that's coming up, something to look forward to. And yeah, I'm not going to do a spotlight today. I will show you the Keikis that Lynn gave me. Coffee down. And she said these have been on the plant a while, such that they've actually grown quite large, which they are for Keikis. You know, these look like young plants. Well, they are young plants, aren't they? But she said they haven't grown very good root systems yet. Yes, for the size of the Keikis, that's not a lot of roots. But they've got growing root tips, so they will grow on. They just need getting in some media, basically. And this is Dendrobium Brymerianum. I will try and steal a picture off the internet to show you the blooms. I looked it up this morning. They're fragrant, they're yellow, and they're frilly. They have similarities with Dendrobium harveyanum, but the frill is mainly the lip, and then it's got an extended lip. As I say, I'll find a picture. The only downside is it does actually say that they're relatively short-lived. I don't think they're like one day and they drop off, but they're not long-lived. But several places actually mention that it blooms twice a year. Yeah, spring and again later in the summer. So that'll be good. That'll make up for the shortfall. And what I think I will do is the same as the last lot of Keikis I got from Lynn, which are growing on nicely now. Was actually, I know mounts weren't doing well, but I mean, if you take these as an example, these were put on a mount. This is the first Dendrobium I've mounted for a very long time, and these have grown on really well. If you look closely at the moss, there's roots everywhere in that moss, and they're still growing. They've got a bit of colour on them because they're getting quite bright light where they are at the moment, but they've extended a fair bit, so they are growing on quite well. I'm quite pleased. Whether they'll reach blooming size this time round or not, I don't know. They haven't started to grow from the base yet, he says, lying, because there is new growth there. So just pushing up the first new growth from the base. But there's a good, those roots were a bit longer than those, but that's come on well, and I still can't put my finger on why a lot of my mounts actually failed when I moved house, but they did. And the ones that I've got now, the little Jenkinsii that Lynn gave me is growing. This has got new growths here, there's another one starting here. So this is actually growing now, so maybe we'll get some Jenkinsii blooms next spring on these new growths. This is bare rooted, effectively. It's the tiny little mount that it was on is here, and that's been pegged onto a bigger mount to allow the roots to spread, but there's no moss. So this religiously has to be watered daily this time of year without fail, unless it's just totally dull, and even then it really ought to be watered every day. The ones in the moss don't need to be watered every day, they don't dry out. I mean, if it's dull weather with no sun, they can go a couple of days, but that one can't because it's bare rooted. Yes, so I think I will mount those. I've got plenty of moss, and I've got plenty of mounts. I've got a huge, big, giant carrier bag full of mounts down in the shed, simply because all the plants that died on the mounts, I've kept the mounts. I might have thrown out what was on them, but I've kept the bark, because that's got expensive nowadays as well. That's if you can get it. It's another one of these problems with CITES, no, come on then. Stand outside talking. You coming in? No? Yes? No. I may get like that one day where it takes 5 minutes to make a decision to either walk forward or not. He's been out there a while, but the sun keeps going in. So he gets like all settled in a nice warm place in the sun, and then the sun goes in and he sort of thinks, yeah, not so good now. So he thinks about coming in and then doesn't quite make it. It's just sat outside the door now. Yeah, so you get problems with trying to protect species in the wild. CITES is really geared up to stop people collecting from the wild and depleting, wild stocks and things like that. And this applies to trees as well. So bark is classed as, something that needs monitoring and stop people sort of stealing stuff from the wild, which I agree to. Unfortunately, it doesn't do its job very well. It's just a bit of a money-making scheme in this country. So. If you've got plants in orchids specifically now in a European nursery, CITES does nothing to stop them being collected from the wild by transferring them from Germany to the UK. CITES is a useless object getting in the way with red tape, paperwork and costing people money for no good reason at all. The place where it should be doing good is where those plants came from and how they got to that nursery in Germany. That's where it needs to be. The damage is done once it gets to Germany, isn't it? The plants don't grow in Germany. They grow out in the Far East and South America and places. where the rules don't seem to apply very often. So anyway, we're stuck with it, and since we left the EU, we've lost, we've rather than losing anything, we've gained lots of things. They're called border controls. So yeah, it costs everybody lots of money now to get from one place to the other and transport stuff. Well, make up your mind. Come on then. Who are you talking to? I'm out here. Funny cat. Yeah, he's losing weight slowly but surely. So his signs of age are getting worse now. He's already slowed down. He moves at a slower pace. You can tell. He still trots up the stairs. He comes down a bit more carefully. He still jumps up on the sofa. He still jumps up on the bed. And he gets from the bed to the windowsill, which is quite clever, because he sort of leans across onto the radiator, which is a bit lower than the windowsill, and then pushes up under the curtain. This is when I'm in bed, and then just sort of suddenly pushes himself up, using the radiator as like a little step to get on the windowsill and look out the window. So you're going out again now? Come on then. It was a waste of time coming in, really, wasn't it? It's because I'm not in there. So he went in there and jumped up on the computer table. Well, he knows I'm not in there, I'm out here. And then he sort of thought, oh, I'll come back out this way then. The sun going in has spoilt his fun, basically. Stuff going on in the garden. I've done a bonsai video as a collaboration, but obviously that video will appear on somebody else's channel. And I don't know when it's going to get posted. I've got no control over it. I've sent it, but that's as far as it's got at the moment. I haven't filmed much in the garden since I got the 2 new plants. There is a video of the 2 new plants that I bought. They're one's a splash of colour, but it's still good for bees and hoverflies and things. And the other one is a hybridised version of one of our native wildflowers, scabious, and that's good for butterflies, moths, bees, hoverflies. So that's a good one to have around in the garden. There's a video on those plants on the other channel, obviously. Yeah, so I think that'll do for today, and thanks for the support on the channel. I know I always say it, and some people might think it's tedious and pointless, but it's not. This channel means an awful lot to me, both financially, which is imperative. That I know I'm always plugging it, but at the end of the day, my outgoings are more than my income, and the gap is not filled completely, but the more that the channels make, the less that gap is, and that stops me dipping into savings and my inheritance money and stuff. So it's important that the channels continue to grow, and okay, they grow at a slow rate. The Gardening and Bonsai channel doesn't grow much at all, and it probably never will. This channel grows at a steady, relatively slow pace, but it continues to grow, and I'm appreciative of that fact, because there isn't much I can do to make it grow apart from produce the videos. And hopefully, by asking you people what you like and your suggestions, there are more people getting things that they actually enjoy rather than what they're just given. Which I know with a lot of channels, you get what you're given. So you either like it or you don't, and you might like some of it and not all of it. But I like to have that ability for people to believe they can get a video they've asked for, providing it's practical, and physically possible. Careful. But yeah, I'm happy to do that. So anyway, thanks for all the support, both the financial support, the patrons and the members. and the old buy me a coffee. As I've said, that buy me a coffee is just, I think it's a way of leaving a tip, you know, like you would if you had a nice meal in a restaurant or something like that. Or been on a coach tour and the guy doing the commentary was particularly good and interesting, you might leave a tip. That's what the buy me a coffee is for, is if you've seen a video that appealed to you perhaps more than others, or you got some information that was, you know, really useful to you, you leave a tip. That's what the buy me a coffee is for. And yeah, the other support, don't forget the adverts. When you monetize on YouTube, you get adverts. What can you watch nowadays without adverts, without paying money to avoid adverts? I mean, you can get ad blockers and things like that, but you normally have to pay for them. You can become premium. You can go premium on YouTube, which means you pay a regular monthly fee to never see adverts on any videos on YouTube. And if you watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, especially music, that is worth doing. There's nothing worse than getting halfway through a really good piece of music or a concert and you constantly get interrupted. So I have premium. I don't actually pay for it. I'm part of a family membership that my son set up. So I don't pay for it, but I don't get adverts on YouTube unless I forget. And I'm inadvertently on the Gardening Channel and decide to watch a video. I get adverts straight in my face. What? Because when you pay for premium, you pay for it on a channel, only on one. You only get one, not everything. So, anyway, just thanks for watching the videos, and don't forget that the adverts need to be watched for people to get paid. It's not just me, this is just how YouTube works. So, and the last time I checked and found out, because it's not easy, adverts that are less than 30 seconds long, you need to watch them all for the creator to get paid. And if the adverts are longer than 30 seconds, apparently you need to watch 30 seconds for a proportion of the money to be paid. I don't believe that long adverts should be watched unless they're unavoidable. But a tip, if you've got a really long advert at the front of a video, yeah, so you're going to have to sit there for 3 or 4 minutes watching something you don't want to see before you can watch the video you actually want to see. If you get stuck in a situation like that, apparently if you come out and go back in again, you might not get that advert, you might get a different one. So I'm told. Because some adverts are non-skippable, you just can't get out of them, but you can if you leave completely. Yeah, and come back in. Save wasting your time. But, I appreciate the people who watch the adverts, but I don't expect people to waste their life watching adverts that they have no interest in. So that 30 seconds is like a magic number. So yes, watching the videos helps the channel, leaving comments helps the channel, and the thumbs up helps the channel, and subscribing helps the channel. And that last little list costs nothing apart from your time, which I assume you're going to spend watching the videos anyway, or you wouldn't be here, would you? So, so thanks for all the support in whatever shape or form you can do. It's all appreciated. And the sun's coming out again now. I'll take the camera off there and just show you. This is his favourite place at the moment. Providing the sun's out, I'll just lift the camera off. And I can show you, this is his favourite place now. Why is that his favourite place? What does black do when the sun gets on it? It heats up. So he likes being in the sunshine on that bonsai stand base. He likes being there. That corner gets the first of the sunshine as the sun moves round. So that's the earliest bit of sunshine during the day that he can actually sit in, and he quite likes just sitting out there in the sunshine. Right, see you next time then. Thanks for dropping by.